Hi everyone, welcome back to a new video. Today I'll be testing this laptop. This right here is an HP Pavilion G6-1370sd. This laptop has an Intel Core i5-2450M, which clocks in at 2.5 GHz, 8 GB of DDR3 RAM, a 500 GB Seagate hard drive, and Intel HD Graphics 3000, which powers the 15.6-inch 1366 by 768 LCD display. This laptop used to be my main laptop in 2018, but how well does it work 3 years later? Let's find out. First off, after not being used for around 1 year, it was time to replace the thermal paste in this laptop, which is still the original paste that it left the factory with back in 2011. If you want to know how to take this laptop apart, I made a tutorial on my other channel, Tigo Repair Stuff. After that, it was time to clean the laptop, since it also hasn't been cleaned for about 1.5 years now. The laptop did clean up very nicely. After that, it was time to connect the power cable and have a look if this laptop still worked. Luckily, it still sprung right into action. In the BIOS, the laptop showed that it had the i5-2450M and that it was recognizing the 8 GB of RAM. After that, it was time to install Windows. The install went smoothly, just like how a Windows install should be. Now that we know that the laptop boots, it's time to have a look at the ports. On the front, the laptop has 2 speakers. On the left side, the laptop has a VGA port, a fan opening, a LAN port, an HDMI port, 2 USB ports, a microphone jack, a headphone jack, the SD card slot, and 2 indicator LEDs. On the back, the laptop has nothing. On the right side, the laptop has a DVD player, a USB port, the charging port, and an opening for a lock. This laptop also has an integrated webcam with a microphone. In my experience, these are relatively okay for being a laptop mic and camera. Above the keyboard, you can only find the power button. All of the other functions are integrated into the function keys. This laptop cannot be opened with just one hand. The arrow keys on this laptop have big left and right arrow keys, but tiny up and down ones. For general use it's not too bad, but for gaming these suck. The touchpad on this laptop has, like regular laptops, 2 buttons. One of these buttons has already kinda sunk into the laptop, but it still clicks. The mechanism to take out the battery is very easy on this laptop. Just pull the slider to one side and the battery pops right out. Now it's time to connect all of the cables. The power cable, the Ethernet cable, my mouse, keyboard, and an HDMI cable. Now it's time to install some programs. Oh, by the way, yes, you heard that right. I need to plug in an HDMI cable since I finally bought a capture card. It's a cheap little 1080p 30fps USB to HDMI capture card, but it's much better than filming my screen like in this footage that I made before the capture card arrived. Now it's time to test YouTube. YouTube run absolutely fine up to 1080p. The speakers on this laptop sound good enough, like you can hear in this clip. Now it's time to test YouTube playback on this laptop. YouTube is perfectly watchable up to 1440p. This laptop is definitely usable for watching YouTube and browsing the internet. Time to test the keyboard. The keyboard on this laptop types well. It's not anything spectacular, but it gets the job done. Here is how the keyboard sounds. The keyboard also has some lights integrated, one for the caps lock key and one for the Wi-Fi switch. The laptop also has a good feeling touchpad. It's pretty comfortable and works well. Now it's time for some benchmarks. First off, time for user benchmark. User benchmark showed that the processor was performing below expectations, while the Intel HD graphics were performing above expectations. It also showed that the hard drive was performing above expectations, while the RAM was performing as expected. Alright, moving on to the next benchmark, Heaven. On the high quality preset, I got an average FPS of 7.5 and a score of 189. Time for some games. First off, Minecraft. Using low settings and a render distance of 5 chunks, Minecraft ran fine. I got an average FPS of 28, with 1% lows of 5 FPS and 0.1% lows of 2 FPS. Time for Roblox. On the second to lowest quality settings, I got an average FPS of 32, with 1% lows of 1 FPS and 0.1% lows of 0 FPS. These dips usually came from loading in maps. Roblox is definitely playable. Moving on to Freddy Fazbears Pizzeria Simulator. This game ran absolutely fine. Ultimate Custom Night is another game that ran fine. The experience wasn't really that bad, but I was averaging only about 10 FPS. Now time for some harder to run games. First off, Euro Truck Simulator 2. On the lowest settings, I got an average FPS of 24, with 1% lows of 12 FPS and 0.1% lows of 5 FPS. When in the city or when you have your headlights on, the game definitely struggled a bit, but out on the highway the game ran fine. Alright, on to Bus Simulator 12. On the lowest settings, this game did not run fine. I got an average FPS of 10 with 1% and 0.1% lows of 2 FPS, and the input lag was absolutely noticeable. A game that did run well was CSGO. On the lowest settings in the benchmark, I got a max FPS of 45, while usually hovering around 25 FPS. For stock HD graphics, I was definitely impressed. Time for BeamNG Drive. This game would not launch due to the Intel graphics supporting up to DirectX 10. For an even more intensive game, Bus Simulator 16. On the lowest settings, this game got an average FPS of 14, with 1% and 0.1% lows of 6 FPS. It wasn't very playable, but I was impressed that this game actually launched. PC Building Simulator on the lowest settings was also horrible to play. I got an average FPS of 8 with 1% and 0.1% lows of 2 FPS. This game is also not playable, sadly. To no one's surprise, Fortnite would not launch due to the HD graphics supporting up to DirectX 10. GTA 5 actually launched but would not go any further than the intro screen and just crashed. So sadly, GTA is also not playable. Since the battery in this laptop still works, I tested it. After 9 minutes, the battery percentage dropped to 2%, where it would stay for another hour. After 1 hour and 11 minutes off the charger, the laptop fully died. Definitely impressive for this battery, but it's not very good that it said it was at 2% the whole time. And after that, it was time to shut down the laptop and clean up my desk. Now, what is my opinion on this laptop? I think that it's definitely still suitable for day-to-day use in 2021. The HD graphics surprised me with what they still can do, and with 80GB of RAM and an i5 2nd gen mobile processor, this laptop is surprisingly snappy. For my testing, I did not even put an SSD in it, but I'm sure that if you would do that this laptop would be very nice to use for web browsing and other light tasks. Back in 2018, I used to edit videos on this laptop and that went very well. I did not test video editing, but I'm not too sure if you could still edit on this laptop. Overall, this laptop is still surprisingly capable. And with that, this video comes to an end. Thanks so much for watching, comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye!